I get a lot of people asking me how we were blessed to walk away from corporate America in our early 30s. Well, listen, I don't want to keep that a secret. I want to share it with the world. And so maybe you're listening to this podcast and you're trying to figure out, how do I even get started on my journey of entrepreneurship and getting to a level of freedom? Well, text the word freedom to 737 777 9909. Enter your information in, and we look forward to sharing some information with you. A proven system with small overhead, right? That you can do part-time, spare time, right from the comfort of your home, and have amazing mentors, coaches, and a community of entrepreneurs who are willing to support you and help you on your journey to freedom. Welcome to Code Freedom. I'm your host, Eddie Bales. Have you ever felt stuck? Have you ever felt like there's got to be more than life than the reality that you see every day? Tune in weekly, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays as we crack the codes to freedom in every area of your life. Welcome to Code Freedom. I'm your host, Eddie Bales, and this is episode 105. And today I thought I'd take a twist here from what I normally do. I wanted to just talk about why I'm so big on Code Freedom, right? And how it kind of started. That way you can kind of get a glimpse of why it's so important to me, right? And I'm just curious, what's your story? Why are you drawn to Code Freedom? But my backstory, and I think I may have shared this in my first episode, but that was almost a year ago. So I thought I'd share again for some of the new listeners, but just maybe offer a little bit more insight. So what happened for me is, long story short, I grew up in a great family, middle class family, and it was me. I had two brothers and a sister that I lived with. I found out, connected with some other brothers and sisters later. I'll just leave it there. But my parents, modest household, made a decent income, didn't really struggle for anything, but at the same time, didn't always get a chance to get the best stuff in terms of like the latest and greatest and the biggest name brand. And now as a grown person, it's not really that big of a deal, right? I mean, the way I see it, I can go get something at Target and make it look fly. You know what I mean? But back in those days, it was tough, because you at that point you're at those ages where you're shaping your confidence, and when you got folks who try to diminish that confidence, sometimes based on your appearance, it can be a little challenging. It can be tough, and it could just So what happened for me is, actually somebody from church, and I'm so thankful for him. He recommended me at a place he used to go to, um, a pastor actually, and so he recommended me. I went, applied, and I got the job at 14. So at 14 years old, I had a job, and I just remember being able to make my own money. And I've never been afraid of working hard. That was always my thing, right? I'll outwork you on a basketball court. I was very competitive, so working hard was not really a hard thing for me. So I get in the job, man, whatever hours they give me, I would take it. You know what I mean? And so I took the job and worked it. 14 years old, making my money, getting my paycheck, and I'm like, okay, all right, And so I was able to just go buy whatever food I wanted. I didn't have to, my dad was cutting my hair at that point, and I was getting what they call the bowl cuts. If you don't know what the bowl cuts are, it's basically, they call it a bowl cut because it's almost like somebody's put a bowl on your head and just wrote, just kind of did a line right around the bowl, with clippers, right? That's kind of how it looked. And so I used to get talked about a lot, man. I even got talked about when I used to wear Pumas, right? My mom used to get me some Pumas, And it's so crazy to me now because Pumas are in style right now, but they weren't really in style back in the day, you know. So I could just go on and on with the different stories. And so, you know, as soon as I was able to get my own money, I did that. And then here's what really happened. I started seeing how I would, you know, it was a wholesale place that I worked at, right? It was wholesale. So they would sell wholesale. It was like a Sam's, but a mom and pop version of it. It was like a BJ's, depending on where you live, or it was like a Costco, depending on where you live. But it was like the mom and pop version of it, run by some really cool Jewish guys. You know, the father started it, I believe, and then his sons ran it, and then I think it even got to a point where maybe I don't think they had a grandson that was running it, but anyway, they were all cool people, real nice to me, and but I got a chance to see like you know this was in Buffalo, and I got a chance to see how they would buy wholesale stuff, and then they own the corner store, and so I go into the corner store to maybe get some penny candy or whatever, right? Just a little snack, something to drink. And I'm like, wait a minute, you bought that from the wholesale store. And I'm like, okay, so you bought it there and now you're selling it here and it's marked up. You know, okay, I get that. You buy low, sell high. Okay, I got it. So guess what I did? I went to high school. I got me some candy wholesale and I started selling it in high school. And this was where I truly got the entrepreneur bug. This is where it all started because I was like late for class half the time because people would hit me up in the hallway because I, you know, like come on, when you're in school, you hungry up until lunchtime, right? And there's nowhere to go to get any kind of snacks or food, right? So like I was that dude. I was the vending machine, but just the walking vending machine, so to speak. So people would hit me up. They knew, and I would be late for school for class sometimes, but I didn't care because my pockets was getting fat, right? And so, you know, just imagine not getting any money from your parents whatsoever. And now all of a sudden, you're in high school and you're getting money from a job and you're making money, extra money from selling candy, right? And so that's where it really all started. So then, fast forward to 2002, that's when I started my entrepreneurial venture that I'm in now. That has turned into a full time income, and it's been a journey. It's been a ride, you know, but I love it. I appreciate it. I'm so thankful for it, and you know, I'll talk more about some of those experiences that I had to go through, but I'm only sharing this with you because um, I I knew early on from working at 14 that this is not for me, right? Like it was good at that point because I was able to buy me some Jordans and I was able to not get the bowl cuts anymore, and if I didn't want like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich for lunch or a ham and cheese sandwich, I could go. Um, Back then, I would just go to McDonald's and get me something. Right now, you know, not knocking McDonald's, but I don't really eat at McDonald's anymore. But back then, it was everything, right? Or just anywhere where I can just go and get a nice meal and not have it be like you know something that I just didn't really want. If that makes sense. I was able to. I had choices. I had options. That's the point that I'm trying to make is that now I had choices. I had options. I didn't have a whole lot of bills. I didn't have any bills, right? So now I got money coming in and I have no bills. So just imagine, you know, what life started to be like. I had a phone and a pager at that point, right? And it was just cool. I mean, you couldn't have told me anything. Like I thought I was rich at that point because I was, you know, it was good, right? And so again, when I got into college, that's where I really turned it up to, you know, because now, and that's a whole nother story. I have to tell that on the podcast one day. But I was on my own at 18. Um, was no longer living in my parents' house, and I'm 18 years old in college. So I ended up staying with my grandmother just for a little bit, and then eventually my brother and his girlfriend at the time, we went and got an apartment, right? And so, again, why am I telling you? I'm just kind of letting you in on the journey that I went through, because at this point, things was a little tough because I had the job still from 14, but now I'm having to pay some real grown man bills like rent. We had, we split up the rent, and and then eventually I wanted to get a car because, like, where I was at in Buffalo, it's it's hard to get around without a car. Like, you know, taking a bus just wasn't happening because it just took longer. Had to wait for when the bus was coming. I mean, you had to look at the hours. I mean, if you missed the if you missed it, man, you might have had to wait 30, 40, 50 minutes for the next bus. I mean, it just depended, so it was challenging. So I had to get a car, and then finally I was able to get a car. And then it was like, man, I'm a young male, and insurance is not nice for a 20-something-year-old young male, right? And so it took me a while to kind of get to a point where I can get the insurance taken care of for the car. Matter of fact, I had to keep the car in storage and pay for a storage area, um, because I couldn't get the car out because at that point I really just couldn't afford the insurance. You know what I mean? So it was challenging. So at that point, I had gotten, 2 and 3 jobs because, again, I understood, like, the hustle. Like, I gotta work hard. I was not afraid to work hard. That was just what I did. So got 2 and 3 jobs to try to make things work. Because at this point, it wasn't even about the money. It was about the freedom. Like, man, I am an adult. I can do what I want to do. Yes, the bills are coming in, but there's nothing greater than this freedom that I felt like I was experiencing, right? And so, obviously in hindsight, that whole situation could have gone a whole lot better. Could have been a whole lot different, and things could have. But it worked out for me because it made me it made me grow up faster, and it also taught me so much about, that sometimes they call it being scrappy, but just making things happen, like surviving, like getting through challenges and coming out on the other side. And so, started my business, and made an extra $565 just by inviting some friends to look at some information on a weekend. And then I ended up getting a check. And so I'm like, okay, I like this, right? So I just kept on working it, and over time, it turned into a full-time income. Wasn't overnight, but I appreciate the journey, and it's just been, now I'm blessed to live on my residual income. So I'm literally still getting paid now from families that we protected and blessed, years and years and years ago, like 2 decades ago, right? Which is so powerful when you really think about that. So I had to share that story with you a little bit because, um, I'm super driven, right? I'm super driven to continue this life of freedom. And now I'm super driven to help other people get that life of freedom, right? Because it's not fair for me to just live that way. I want to see other people winning. I want to see other people living their dream lifestyle. And it's also exciting to know you had an impact in it. It's exciting to see, um, that you had a small hand in somebody else's turnaround in their life, right? Well, now they get a chance to do the thing that they really want to do, spend the time with their family, travel, maybe earn more income than they've ever earned before. I know that was the case for me. So it's just exciting to see it. And it all started from me getting that job at 14, and then me buying the candy and then selling it in high school, and earning a little bit of money, and then just being able to do stuff. And you know obviously, budgeting comes into play, and learning how to manage that money that you earn, and things of that nature. And we're going to have some people on the show that will talk about that in the near future. But really, what I wanted to just kind of talk about today, just share a little bit of my story, and just share why I'm so driven to helping people live a life of freedom. And so, listen, that's my desire. That's my goal, is to help you live your life of freedom, and just live a life that you feel like you're called to live, and not the life that you have to live. So, hope you guys enjoyed this episode, a little bit of my story, and can't wait to see you on the next episode. It's going to be a really cool episode. We'll have a special guest, folks, and guess where they're from? They're from London, the UK, guys. So I'm super excited to have our first international guest on the show. So stay tuned. Make sure you dial in, and tell your friends and family about it as well. Take care, guys. God bless. See you over the top. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate you guys for listening. Definitely feel free to take a screenshot of this episode, tag me in it on Instagram or Facebook or wherever you find me on social media. I would love to give you a shout out. Hey, you might even get a prize. Who knows? But excited that you had a chance to take a listen. I hope you got a lot of value. And definitely feel free to give us 5 stars as well as a review. Show us some love, and we appreciate you. God bless you all, and see you all over the top.